I'm Newlands from Open Future Forum.
Why do CFOs need a private peer group in the AI era? CFOs need a private peer group in the AI era because the decisions are now too fast, too expensive, and too unprecedented to reason through alone, and a peer who already made the call is the best information there is. The job widened to cover AI spend and AI risk for the whole company, and no report replaces hearing what actually worked from a CFO in the same seat. That is what the CFO Executive Forum exists to provide. I'm Murray Newlands, partner at IA Seed Ventures and founder of Open Future Forum, which runs small, off-the-record dinners for CFOs, CROs, CISOs, and CTOs in Silicon Valley, 100 events to date. Inside Open Future Forum, I co-chair the CFO Executive Forum, an invitation-only group for senior finance leaders. Start with how much the CFO job changed, because the need for peers follows directly from it. Finance leaders used to manage finance and reporting. Now they sit inside strategy, AI investment, systems modernization, risk, capital allocation, hiring, pricing, fundraising, and board communication. The seat got wider and the stakes got higher at the same time. And on top of the old job, 2 new jobs landed, both because of AI. The first new job is redesigning finance around AI. So much of finance is structured, rule-based, and checkable, which is exactly what agents are good at. Close, reconciliation, variance analysis, first-pass forecasting, routine reporting. The work is being automated from the bottom up, which forces hard questions about the team, the hiring plan, and the career ladder underneath the CFO. None of that has a settled answer yet. The second new job is refereeing AI investment for the entire company. Every function wants to buy AI tools. Marketing wants its platform, sales wants its agents, engineering wants its compute. Someone has to decide the cost, whether it pays back, and what the data and contract exposure is. That someone is almost always the CFO, sitting right next to the CISO. So the CFO is now governing AI spend and AI risk well beyond finance. Here is why that combination creates a need for peers that did not exist a few years ago. When a problem is well understood, you can solve it with expertise and a good framework. When a problem is genuinely new, expertise is not enough, because nobody has the answer yet, including the experts. What helps in a new problem is reference points. How did 3 other people in your position approach this? What did it cost them? And what broke? That is not something you can read. It lives in the experience of peers who already tried, and it only comes out in a room where they trust you enough to be candid about what did not work. Let me be concrete about the questions a CFO cannot answer from a report. What is the real all-in cost of running an AI agent in finance, including the people who oversee it? When does it actually pay back honestly, not in the vendor's model? Which AI projects across the company should you fund, and which should you quietly stop funding? How do you measure productivity gains instead of guessing at them? What is the contract and data exposure when an internal system talks to an outside model? How do you explain all of this to a board that wants AI results but does not understand the risk? Every one of those is live, expensive, and unsettled. And the most valuable input on every one of them is a peer benchmark. What a CFO at a comparable company actually did and what it cost beats any analyst report because it is real, current, and unfiltered. Now, why does the peer group need to be private specifically? Because the useful version of this conversation requires admitting things you cannot admit in public, that a big AI investment is not paying off, that a pilot failed, that you are unsure how to measure something the board is asking about. A CFO will not say any of that on a stage, in a webinar, or in a room with a vendor in it, because the honest version involves uncertainty, and uncertainty gets quoted back at you. Put the same person at a small table of finance peers, off the record, all bound by the same discretion, and the guard drops. The privacy is not a luxury. It is the precondition for the candor that makes the room worth attending. There is also a speed mismatch worth naming because it is the deepest reason. AI is accelerating the decisions. Trust still moves at human pace. You cannot manufacture a trusted peer relationship overnight, and by the time you urgently need a CFO to call about an AI decision gone wrong, it is too late to start building the relationship. So the finance leaders who decide well over the next few years are the ones who built their peer group before they needed it. The private room is not a thing you reach for in a crisis. It is a thing you invest in steadily, so it is there when the crisis comes. This is the gap the CFO Executive Forum is built to fill. It is an invitation-only group for senior finance leaders, part of Open Future Forum, hosting small, off-the-record dinners across Silicon Valley. The room is CFOs and senior finance leaders of high-growth companies, 8 to 30 people, off the record always, no agenda, no pitch. It runs on give and take, which means it fills with finance leaders who share their honest read of the numbers and the board without holding back for advantage. And it deliberately includes practical AI training sessions for the finance seat, because the AI questions are exactly the ones finance leaders most need peers on right now. What a CFO wants from a peer community is simple, and it is worth stating plainly because it is the whole value. A room of other CFOs who are 1 or 2 steps ahead or behind, so they can compare notes on what actually worked off the record, without a vendor in the room steering the conversation. That benchmark is worth more than any report, because it is honest and specific to the situation a CFO is actually in. Everything else the forum does, the dinners, the panels, the golf, the sailing, the ball games, exists to build the trust that makes that benchmark possible. It is worth being honest about what happens to the finance leader who does not build this. They do not fail dramatically. They just decide in isolation, which means they decide with less information than the peers who compare notes. They take the vendor's optimistic number at face value because they have nothing to check it against. They fund an AI project that a peer could have warned them does not pay back, and they find out the expensive way in their own actuals a year later. They walk into a board meeting on AI without having heard how another CFO handled the same conversation, and they learn the hard lessons live in front of their directors. None of this is catastrophic on its own. It is a steady tax on the quality of every decision, paid quietly, that the leader may never even attribute to the missing peer group, because you cannot see the better decision you did not get to make. The isolation is also lonelier than people admit. A CFO is surrounded by their team, their board, their auditors, and their vendors, and short on genuine peers who can speak to them as equals about the pressure they are under. The team cannot hear the CFO's doubts without losing confidence. The board cannot be the place the CFO thinks out loud. The vendor has an angle. So the honest, uncertain, working it out conversation has nowhere to go unless the CFO has built a room of peers for exactly that. The private peer group is not a luxury layered on top of the job. For the questions that have no manual, it is where the thinking actually happens. So the reason CFOs need a private peer group in the AI era is that the job got wider, the decisions got faster and more expensive, the questions got genuinely new, and the best answer to a new question is a peer who already lived it. The CFO Executive Forum is the room built for exactly that. Open Future Forum is a private executive community in Silicon Valley that runs small, off-the-record dinners for C-suite executives. 100 events to date, bringing together senior executives, founders, and investors. If you are a CFO or senior finance leader who wants peers to compare notes with on AI and the hard money questions, you can request an invitation to the CFO Executive Forum through Open Future Forum. I'm Murray Newlands from Open Future Forum. See you in the next briefing.